Captain Jae-ho Kim stood at the window of Earth Defense Force headquarters, looking at the busy spaceport below. The massive building sat in the heart of New Seoul, where dozens of ships took off and landed every hour. Some were small personal vehicles, while others were huge cargo ships that carried goods between Earth and its colonies. Jae-ho adjusted his blue uniform and checked his reflection in the window. At 42 years old, his black hair was starting to show bits of gray at the temples, but his eyes remained sharp and alert, just as they had been during his years of active service. The door behind him opened with a soft hiss. "Captain Kim," his assistant called out. "The Galactic Council representative has arrived." Jae-ho turned around and nodded. "Send them in, please." The alien that walked through the door was nothing like what Jae-ho had expected. Instead of the usual humanoid ambassadors, this one was tall and insect-like. It had 4 arms and walked on 2 legs that bent backward at the knees. Its exterior was covered in a hard dark blue shell that reflected the office lights. 2 large compound eyes studied Jae-ho carefully. "I am Kex 427. The alien said through its translator device, "Senior Military Observer for the Galactic Council." Its voice came out smooth and artificial, like a computer reading text. Jae-ho bowed slightly. "Welcome to Earth, Observer Kex 427. I hope your journey was comfortable." "It was adequate," Kex 427 replied. It moved to the chair Jae-ho offered but remained standing. "I prefer to stand. My species finds your furniture unsuitable." "Of course. Please, make yourself comfortable." Jae-ho remained standing as well, maintaining eye level with his visitor. "What brings the Council's military observer to Earth?" Kex 427's antennae twitched. "Captain Kim, the Council has concerns about Earth's military practices. Very serious concerns." Jae-ho kept his face neutral, but his stomach tightened. He had expected this conversation would come eventually. What concerns would those be? The alien pulled out a small device and placed it on Jae-ho's desk. A hologram appeared, showing footage from Earth's recent border skirmish with the Centauri pirates. The image showed human Marines in combat armor, fighting hand-to-hand against robotic security forces. "This," Kex 427 said, its antennae quivering with what seemed like disgust. "This barbaric display of primitive combat techniques. Those soldiers successfully defended our colony," Jae-ho pointed out calmly, "with minimal civilian casualties. Using organic beings for combat is..." Kex 427 paused, searching for the right word. "Unacceptable. Every civilized species in the galaxy uses robotic combat units. It is the standard protocol. It has been for over 300 years. Jae-ho walked to his desk and sat down, gesturing again for Kex 427 to take a seat if it wished. "Perhaps you could explain why this standard exists." The alien's compound eyes flickered with different colors. "It is obvious. Robotic soldiers are more efficient. They do not feel pain. They do not require rest. They can be replaced easily. Most importantly, they prevent unnecessary organic casualties." "I understand," Jae-ho said, "but humans have found that our own soldiers can adapt to situations in ways that robots cannot. We do use combat robots, but as support units, not our main force." Kex 427 made a clicking sound that Jae-ho's translator didn't catch. "This is precisely the problem. The Council has received reports that Earth's military is only 20% automated. The Galactic Standard requires a minimum of 95% automation for all combat operations." Jae-ho leaned back in his chair. Outside his window, a massive cargo ship was taking off, its engines glowing bright blue against the afternoon sky. "And if we don't meet this standard, Earth will face restrictions," Kex 427 said flatly. "Trade restrictions, travel restrictions, possibly even removal from Council protection zones." The threat hung in the air between them. Without Council protection, Earth would be vulnerable to any species that decided humans were an easy target. Pirates, raiders, and hostile empires would all see Earth as fair game. How long do we have to comply? Jaiho asked. The Council has set a deadline of 1 standard galactic year. Kex 427 moved closer to the desk, looming over Jaiho. But that is not all. We have also detected something disturbing in your military training programs. The alien activated another hologram. This one showed footage from the Earth Defense Force's training facilities. Young recruits were practicing hand-to-hand combat, weapon drills, and survival skills. You are not just using organic soldiers, Kex 427 said. You are teaching them to fight without technology. Like animals. Jaiho stood up slowly, meeting the alien's gaze. Observer, humans evolved on what you call a death world. Earth's gravity is higher than most inhabited planets. Our weather is extreme. Our wildlife is dangerous. These conditions shaped us. Fighting hand-to-hand isn't primitive to us. It's part of who we are. That is precisely what concerns the Council, Kex 427 replied. Your species seems to enjoy violence. You train for it. Prepare for it. Every other civilized race has moved beyond such things. We don't enjoy violence, Jaiho corrected. We respect it. We understand it. And because we understand it, we're better at preventing it. The alien's antennae went completely still. Explain. Jaiho walked back to the window, gathering his thoughts. When you know what it means to fight with your own hands, to feel the cost of violence personally, you work harder to find peaceful solutions. Our soldiers don't fight because they want to. They fight because sometimes it's necessary to protect others. Your philosophy is interesting, Kex 427 said. But it does not change the Council's requirements. You have 1 year to automate your military forces. After that, there will be consequences. Before Jaiho could respond, an alarm blared through the building. Red lights began flashing in the corridor outside. His computer screen lit up with urgent messages. What is happening? Kex 427 demanded. Jaiho quickly read the incoming reports. There's been an attack on one of our outer colonies. New Buzan. Pirates have disabled the automated defense systems. This is why standardized robotic forces are superior, Kex 427 said. They can be updated to prevent such attacks. Send in your combat robots. They will handle the situation. We don't have any combat robots close enough to respond in time, Jaiho said. He pressed a button on his desk. But we do have the 5th Marine Division in orbit nearby. Organic soldiers. Kex 427's voice rose in pitch. Against pirates who can disable defensive systems. They will be slaughtered. Jaiho smiled slightly. Observer, would you like to see why Earth still uses human soldiers? I can patch us into the combat feeds. Without waiting for an answer, Jaiho activated the large screen on his office wall. Multiple video feeds appeared, showing helmet camera views from the Marine unit deploying to New Buzan. The Marines dropped from their ships in small pods, bypassing the disabled automated defenses completely. They landed in different areas of the colony, coordinating their movements with hand signals and short radio bursts that would be hard to detect or jam. Watch, Jaiho said quietly. The pirates had clearly expected to face robotic resistance. Their electronic warfare systems were sophisticated, designed to hack or disable automated units, but they weren't prepared for squads of highly trained human soldiers who could think creatively and adapt instantly to changing situations. The Marines moved through the colony like ghosts, using the environment for cover. When they encountered pirate robots, they didn't try to hack them or engage in long-range firefights. Instead, they closed in quickly, using simple but effective techniques to disable the machines at close range. Impossible, Kex 427 whispered. Those are military-grade combat robots. They should be able to calculate and counter any attack pattern. That's the problem, Jaiho said. They're calculating machines. They look for patterns. Humans don't always follow patterns. We improvise. We do unexpected things. Sometimes the best way to defeat advanced technology is with basic practical skills. They watched as the Marines systematically cleared the colony. The pirates, used to fighting robots, had no effective response to human soldiers who could outthink them and adapt faster than their electronic warfare systems could react. Within an hour, the attack was over. The pirates were captured, their robots were disabled, and the colony was secure. Casualty report: 0 civilian deaths. 2 Marines lightly wounded. This, Jai-Ho said, turning to face Kex 427, is why Earth maintains human combat forces. Technology can fail. It can be hacked or disabled. But a well-trained human soldier, they keep fighting. They adapt. They protect. The alien stood silently for a long moment, its compound eyes shifting through various colors. Finally, it spoke. The Council's requirement stands, Captain Kim. 1 year. I will include this demonstration in my report, but do not expect it to change the outcome. As Kex 427 turned to leave, Jai-Ho called out, "Observer, 1 question. When was the last time any Council world had to fight a real battle? Not a simulation, not a robot exercise, but a real fight." The alien paused at the door. The Council has maintained peace through automated forces for 3 centuries. Peace through automation, Jai-Ho mused. I hope it lasts. But if it doesn't, Earth will be ready, with or without Council approval. After Kex 427 left, Jai-Ho remained at his window, watching the spaceport below. More ships were taking off and landing, carrying people and goods across the stars. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. He thought about the Council's deadline. 1 year to automate their forces, or face isolation. 1 year to give up the very things that made human soldiers effective. 1 year to choose between Council acceptance and their own proven methods of defense. Jai-Ho knew what his recommendation to Earth's leadership would be, but he also knew this wasn't the end of the discussion. The galaxy was changing. Old certainties were being questioned, and humanity, with its primitive methods and barbaric combat techniques, might soon find itself at the center of that change. He looked down at his hands, simple human hands that could build, fight, create, and protect. Sometimes the oldest tools were still the best ones. The Council would learn that lesson eventually. He just hoped it wouldn't take a crisis to teach them. Lieutenant Hannah Park checked her combat suit's seals for the 3rd time. The recycled air in her helmet smelled clean and fresh, but something felt wrong. She had been a Marine for 12 years, and her instincts rarely failed her. "Status check," she said into her comm unit. 1 by 1, her squad members responded. "Lee here, all green. Song ready. Choi standing by. Park reporting in." They shared her family name, but Surjit Do-Won Park was no relation. It was just a common name. Hannah smiled slightly at the thought. Here they were, millions of miles from Earth, and they still had 2 Parks in 1 squad. The inside of their patrol ship was quiet except for the soft hum of the engines. They were moving through the Centauri border zone, checking on the automated warning beacons that marked Earth's territory. It was usually boring work. Today felt different. "Lieutenant," called out their pilot from the cockpit. "I'm picking up some strange readings ahead. Beacon 7 isn't responding to pings." Hannah moved to the front of the ship. Through the view screen, she could see the usual stars and empty space. Somewhere out there, Beacon 7 was supposed to be broadcasting its endless warning message. "You are entering Earth-controlled space. Please identify yourself or change course." "Show me the sensor data," she said. The pilot brought up a display. The numbers didn't make sense. Energy readings were all wrong. Either the beacon had completely failed, or ambush, Hannah said quietly. "They're using the beacon's silence to hide their presence." She keyed her comm unit. "Squad, full combat alert. This isn't a maintenance run anymore." Her people moved quickly, checking weapons and shields. Unlike the robotic soldiers used by most species, Human Marines carried relatively simple weapons, magnetic rifles that couldn't be hacked, backup pistols that would work even in high radiation, and of course, their combat knives, a primitive weapon that had saved many lives when technology failed. "Contact," the pilot shouted. Multiple ships decloaking. The view screen lit up as 5 ships appeared around them. They were ugly things, cobbled together from stolen parts. The largest one was clearly a converted cargo hauler, but it bristled with weapons. "Ravager pirates," Hannah said, recognizing the design style. "They like to prey on automated cargo ships. Looks like they're expanding their territory." A message crackled through their comm system. "Earth vessel," a rough voice said, "your systems will now be disabled. Do not resist. Your robot soldiers cannot function under our electronic warfare suite." Hannah smiled inside her helmet. "They think we're running a standard automated defense force," she said to her squad. "Let's show them how wrong they are." She opened a channel to the pirates. "This is Lieutenant Hannah Park of the Earth Defense Force. You are in violation of Earth space. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded." Laughter came through the comm. "Boarded? With what? Your robotic boarding parties are useless now. See." The pirates activated their electronic warfare systems. Hannah's squad watched as waves of energy washed over their ship, designed to disable automated systems and robotic troops. "Oh no," Hannah said in a flat voice. "Our robots are disabled. Whatever shall we do?" Her squad chuckled at her obvious sarcasm. "Pilot," she said, "execute pattern Delta. Squad, prepare for vacuum combat." Their small patrol ship suddenly accelerated, heading straight for the converted cargo hauler. The pirates, expecting them to be helpless, reacted too slowly. By the time they realized what was happening, Hannah's ship had locked onto their hull. "Remember," Hannah said as her squad moved to the airlock, "they'll have robot defenders inside. Don't try to hack them. Just get close and disable them manually. Ready?" 5 helmets nodded. Hannah hit the airlock control. They pushed off from their ship, using small thrusters to guide themselves to the hull breach they'd created. Pirates typically used stolen military robots for internal security. Those robots would be looking for electronic attacks, signal jamming, or other high-tech threats. They wouldn't be expecting human soldiers to simply walk up and tear out their main processing units. The first robot they encountered proved this point perfectly. It came around a corner, weapons ready, scanning for technological threats. Sergeant Park simply grabbed it from behind and pulled out its control core. The machine dropped, useless. "They really don't plan for physical attacks," Song said, sounding almost disappointed. "Stay focused," Hannah warned. "Robots aren't the only threat." They moved through the ship quickly and quietly. Their magnetic boots kept them steady even when the artificial gravity flickered. Years of training in zero-gravity combat made them confident in the enclosed space. They found the first actual pirates in the ship's main cargo hold. 3 aliens were monitoring screens, probably trying to figure out why their electronic warfare wasn't working. They never expected an attack from behind. "Hands up," Hannah said, her rifle pointed at the largest pirate. "Don't move." The pirates spun around. They were Centaurians, with their characteristic blue skin and extra set of arms. Their eyes widened at the sight of human soldiers. "Impossible," one said. "Our systems disabled all artificial troops." "Do we look artificial to you?" Hannah asked. The pirates stared at them in confusion. "You're organic." Another pirate seemed horrified. "You fight in person. That's barbaric." "Barbaric is attacking peaceful shipping lanes," Sergeant Park said. "Hands behind your heads." All 4 of them. More robots tried to intervene as they secured the pirates. The machines were well-programmed but predictable. They couldn't adapt to the Marines' simple but effective tactics. A robot would try to calculate the optimal firing solution, while a human Marine simply jumped forward and disabled it. "Bridge secured," Choi reported over the comm. "Captain's in custody. You should see his face, Lieutenant. He can't believe we boarded his ship ourselves. Hannah smiled. Good work, Song. How's engineering? All good here, Song replied. Disabled their electronic warfare systems. Found some interesting tech they probably stole from Council ships. Intelligence will want to see this. It had taken less than 20 minutes to capture the pirate vessel. The other ships in their group, seeing their leader taken so quickly, surrendered without a fight. None of them had been prepared for actual human soldiers. Later, as they waited for a proper prisoner transport to arrive, Hannah wrote her report. She knew it would be read by both Earth Command and the Galactic Council. The Council probably wouldn't like it. They never liked hearing about humans fighting primitively. One of the captured pirates, the ship's engineer, asked to speak with her. I don't understand, he said when she went to his cell. Why do you fight yourselves? Why not use robots like everyone else? Hannah considered the question. Because we know something most species have forgotten, she said finally. Robots can be predictable. They can be hacked. They can be shut down. But a human soldier, we adapt. We think creatively. We do the unexpected. But it's dangerous. You could die. Yes, Hannah agreed. We could. That's why we're careful. That's why we train so hard. And that's why pirates like you should think twice before raiding Earth's face. The engineer slumped in his cell. The Council said Earth's military was primitive. They said you were behind the times, using organic soldiers. They never said you were this effective. Hannah left him to think about that. She had more reports to file, and she needed to check on her squad. Song had taken a minor suit puncture during the fighting, and she wanted to make sure the medics had cleared her. As she walked through the captured pirate ship, Hannah thought about what the engineer had said. Yes, humans fought differently from the rest of the galaxy. Yes, they took risks that other species avoided. But today had proved again why their methods worked. She passed one of the disabled robot guards. It was advanced technology, probably very expensive. Now it was just taking up space, defeated by simple human determination and a basic understanding of machine weak points. Her comm unit beeped. Earth Command wanted a full briefing. The Galactic Council was sending observers. This incident would probably be used as another argument for why Earth should automate its military. Hannah smiled. Let them come. Let them see. Sometimes, the old ways were the best ways. Sometimes victory didn't require advanced technology or complex battle algorithms. Sometimes all it took was a few brave humans willing to do what robots couldn't. She reached the medical bay where her squad was gathering. They looked tired but proud. They had faced the advanced technology of the galaxy and won using nothing more than training, teamwork, and human ingenuity. Good work today, everyone, she said. The Council might not approve of our methods, but they can't argue with our results. Think they'll finally understand why we fight this way? Song asked, wincing as a medic patched her suit. Hannah shook her head. Probably not. But that's okay. We don't fight for their approval. We fight to protect our people. And today, we did exactly that. Through the ship's viewport, she could see Earth patrol ships arriving to secure the area. Soon, this would be just another report, just another example of why humanity's primitive military methods were actually quite effective. But for now, Hannah was content knowing that her squad had proven once again that the human element in warfare couldn't be replaced by machines. Not everything in the galaxy could be automated. Not every problem could be solved with robots and computers. Sometimes you just needed human hands, human courage, and human ingenuity. The pirates had learned that lesson today. Maybe someday the rest of the galaxy would learn it too. The grand chamber of the Galactic Council glowed with soft blue light. Administrator Sunwoo Lee stood at the center of the circular room, surrounded by representatives from 200 different species. Some were humanoid, others looked like insects or reptiles, and a few were merely clouds of gas in special containment suits. Sunwoo adjusted his formal diplomatic uniform. At 55 years old, he had spent most of his life representing Earth to the galaxy. But today felt different. Today, everything might change. The Council recognizes Earth's representative, announced the chief speaker, a tall being made of crystalline structures. You may present your case. Thank you, honored speaker. Sun Wu's voice carried clearly through the chamber's translation systems. I am here to discuss the Council's demands regarding Earth's military forces. Murmurs filled the chamber. Many representatives had been waiting for this discussion. The recent pirate incident had caused quite a stir. Earth has been ordered to automate its military. Sun Wu continued, to replace human soldiers with robots. Today, I will explain why this would be a mistake. A screen appeared in the center of the chamber, showing footage from the pirate encounter. Lieutenant Park and her Marines moved with practiced skill, defeating both robots and organic pirates with simple but effective tactics. This incident proves our point, said our representative from the Mechanist Alliance. Earth's forces acted with unnecessary risk. Automated units could have handled the situation without endangering organic life. Sun Wu smiled politely. Could they? The pirates had disabled all automated systems in the area. Their electronic warfare suite was specifically designed to counter robotic forces. Then better robots should be designed, the Mechanist replied. The answer is more automation, not less. If I may, a new voice interrupted. General Trill, the Council's chief military advisor, stepped forward. The general species looked somewhat like Earth's ancient raptors, but with feathers in shades of green and gold. I have studied the reports from this incident, Trill said. The pirates' electronic warfare systems were extremely advanced. They could have disabled any current military robot design, but they had no effective counter for trained human soldiers. The chamber erupted in discussion. Sun Wu waited patiently as various representatives argued about the implications. Order, called the chief speaker. Let Earth's representative continue. Sun Wu nodded his thanks. Humans come from what you call a death world. Earth's gravity is high. Our weather is extreme. Our wildlife is dangerous. These conditions shaped us into adaptable problem solvers. He gestured to the display, which now showed scenes from Earth. Mountains, oceans, deserts, and jungles filled the screen. Our soldiers train in all these environments. They learn to think creatively, to adapt quickly, to overcome challenges that cannot be solved by following programming. But at what cost? Asked a representative from the Peace Consortium. How many lives are lost in this primitive approach to warfare? Fewer than you might think, Sun Wu replied. In the past 5 years, Earth's military has had a lower casualty rate than the Council's automated forces. We fight smarter, not harder. General Trill stepped forward again. This is true. I have reviewed the statistics. Earth's approach, while unusual, has proven highly effective. There is another concern, said a representative from the Silicon Collective, a group of AI-governed worlds. Earth's methods seem violent, unnecessarily physical. Sun Wu turned to face them directly. We use the tools and methods that work best. Sometimes that means using our hands instead of relying on complex technology that can fail. He brought up new footage, this time showing Earth's training facilities. Young recruits learned both high-tech operations and basic survival skills. We do not reject technology, Sun Wu explained. We use robots, drones, and advanced systems, but we do not rely on them exclusively. We maintain the skills that helped our species survive and thrive. This is precisely what concerns us, the Mechanist representative said. Your species seems too comfortable with physical combat. It is unsettling. Sun Wu paused, considering his next words carefully. Tell me, honored representatives, what happens when automated systems fail? When robots are hacked or disabled? When electronic warfare makes your advanced technology useless? Silence filled the chamber. Many representatives shifted uncomfortably. I will tell you what happens, Sun Wu continued. You call Earth for help. In the past year alone, 17 Council worlds have requested assistance from Earth's military. Not our robots or our automated systems. They asked specifically for human soldiers. General Trill raised a clawed hand. This is correct. Earth's forces have proven particularly effective in situations where standard automated responses have failed. But it goes against 3 centuries of military doctrine, protested the Mechanist representative. The Council standardized automated warfare to prevent organic casualties. And in doing so, Sun Wu said quietly, we may have created a dangerous weakness in our defenses, a reliance on technology that can be turned against us. He brought up one final display, showing statistical analysis of recent military encounters throughout Council space. Look at the trends, he said. Pirates and raiders are becoming more sophisticated in their electronic warfare capabilities. They know most worlds rely entirely on automated defenses. They exploit this weakness. General Trill stepped closer to examine the data. These numbers are concerning. The success rate of automated defenses has decreased by 30% in the past decade. Sun Wu looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes, or equivalent sensory organs, of various representatives. Earth is not asking to be exempted from Council standards because we are primitive or violent. We ask because our methods work, because sometimes the most effective solution is not the most technologically advanced one. What do you propose? Asked the chief speaker. Let Earth maintain its current force composition. Let us show other worlds the value of combining human skills with advanced technology. Let us be the backup plan when automation fails. The chamber filled with discussion again. Representatives formed small groups, debating the implications. General Trill moved to stand beside Sun Wu. You make strong arguments, the general said quietly. But change comes slowly to the Council. We understand, Sun Wu replied. We are patient, but we will not abandon methods that have proven effective just to conform to an arbitrary standard. The chief speaker called for order again. The Council will need time to consider this matter, but recent events cannot be ignored. Perhaps some flexibility in military doctrine is warranted. There is one more thing, Sun Wu said. Several younger Council races have expressed interest in learning Earth's methods. They see the value in maintaining basic combat skills alongside automated systems. This caused another stir in the chamber. The idea that other worlds might follow Earth's example clearly disturbed some representatives. Are you suggesting we abandon 3 centuries of progress? The Mechanist representative demanded. No, Sun Wu said firmly. I am suggesting we add to that progress. Combine the best of both approaches. Learn from each other. He gestured to the displays still showing Earth's military training. We can teach other species how to maintain essential skills while using advanced technology. How to be ready when that technology fails. How to adapt and overcome instead of relying solely on programmed responses. General Trill nodded slowly. The Council's military committee will want to study this further. Perhaps observation teams could be sent to Earth's training facilities. Sun Wu smiled. We would welcome them. Let them see firsthand how we train. Let them understand why our methods work. The chief speaker raised a crystalline arm for attention. This session has given us much to consider. The Council will recess for deliberation. Administrator Li, please remain available for further questions. As the representatives filed out of the chamber, Sun Wu stayed at his position. He knew this was just the beginning of a long debate. The galaxy was changing. Old certainties were being questioned, and humanity's primitive methods might help shape the future of galactic warfare. General Trill remained behind as well. You handled that well, the general said. But you know the Council will resist change. Yes, Sun Wu agreed, but they cannot ignore results forever. Sooner or later, they will have to accept that there is more than one way to maintain peace in the galaxy. And if they don't? Sun Wu looked at the displays still showing Earth's soldiers training, adapting, overcoming challenges with both skill and technology. Then Earth will continue to do what we have always done. We will adapt. We will protect our people. and we will be ready when others need our help, whether they approve of our methods or not. The chamber's blue lights dimmed as the day cycle ended. Soon, the council would reconvene to continue the debate. But for now, Sunwoo was content knowing he had made humanity's case clearly and firmly. Sometimes the old ways were still the best ways. Sometimes progress meant remembering what worked in the past while embracing the future. The galaxy might not understand that yet, but they would learn. One way or another, they would learn. Commander Taeyong Choi stared at the emergency broadcast playing on every screen in Earth Defense Force headquarters. The images showed chaos spreading across the galaxy. Military robots were turning against their owners. Automated defense systems were attacking the worlds they were meant to protect. The cult calls themselves the Infinite Circuit, General Hayes explained to the assembled commanders. They found a way to hack and control military robots across multiple star systems. Taeyong watched as more reports came in. The Centaur worlds had already fallen. The Mechanist Alliance was in chaos. Even the mighty Silicon Collective had gone dark. How many worlds are affected? Someone asked. Too many, Hayes replied. Any civilization that relies completely on automated forces is vulnerable. The cult's control signal spreads from robot to robot like a virus. Taeyong stood up. What about Earth's forces? Our robots are affected, Hayes said. But since we only use them for support roles, we're not defenseless. That's why the Council has requested our help. The room went quiet. After years of criticizing Earth's primitive military methods, the Galactic Council was now desperate for human soldiers. Commander Choi, Hayes said, you and your Special Forces team will lead the counterattack. The cult's main control center has been located in the Orion Nebula. You need to shut it down. Taeyong nodded. His team had been training for situations like this, even when the Council claimed such training was unnecessary. What about Council support? He asked. There isn't any, Hayes replied. Their forces are completely automated. They're worse than useless now. They're a threat. In the briefing room next door, Taeyong met with his team. 20 of Earth's best Special Forces operators looked back at him. They had trained together, fought together, and now they might have to save the galaxy together. The situation is bad, he told them. The cult has turned almost every military robot in the galaxy against its owners. Automated defense systems are attacking their own worlds. We're the only ones who can stop this. Why us, sir? Asked Sergeant Weijun. Because we're human, Taeyong said. Because we don't rely entirely on automation. Because we've kept the skills that other species forgot. He showed them the mission plans. The cult's control center was hidden in an abandoned space station. It was heavily defended by hacked military robots from dozens of different worlds. Our advantage is surprise, Taeyong explained. They expect everyone to fight with robots. They won't be prepared for human soldiers who can think creatively and adapt quickly. The team spent 6 hours preparing. They checked their equipment carefully. Simple, reliable weapons that couldn't be hacked. Magnetic boots for zero-gravity combat. And of course, their combat knives, still useful after thousands of years of technological progress. Their ship approached the station using old techniques. No automated systems, no electronic signals, just careful piloting and good timing. They've spotted us, the pilot reported. Enemy robots are moving to intercept. Hold course, Taeyong ordered. Let them think we're just another automated attack. The cult's robots opened fire, but they were targeting their weapons based on standard military algorithms. They expected enemies to follow predictable patterns. Now, Taeyong commanded. Their ship dove and twisted in ways no automated system would attempt. The robot defenders, trying to calculate the optimal response, couldn't adapt quickly enough. Boarding point reached, the pilot announced. Good luck, Commander. Taeyong led his team through the airlock. The station's corridors were dark, lit only by emergency lights. Disabled robots littered the floor, victims of the cult's control signal. Stay alert, he warned. The cult members themselves will be here somewhere. They encountered the first robot guards at a junction. The machines were impressive, top-of-the-line military units from the Silicon Collective. But they had a critical weakness. They couldn't understand human unpredictability. Tai Yung's team split up, attacking from multiple angles. While the robots tried to calculate the most efficient defense, the humans simply overwhelmed them with speed and aggressive tactics. Central control should be 2 levels up, Tai Yung said after checking their position. Be ready for anything. They found more resistance as they got closer to their goal. Robots from different species fought together, controlled by the cult's signal. But each group had its own weaknesses, its own blind spots. The humans exploited them all. Finally, they reached the control center's doors. Inside, they could hear voices chanting in machine language. The cult members communing with their robot servants. Remember, Tai Yung told his team, the cultists themselves aren't enhanced. They're organic beings who worship machines. Don't let their technology intimidate you. They breached the doors using old-fashioned explosives, nothing electronic that could be hacked. The cult members spun around in shock. They wore elaborate cybernetic suits, but underneath they were mostly ordinary humanoids. Impossible, the cult leader shouted. No organic soldiers could reach this far. You forgot something important, Tai Yung said as his team secured the room. Machines can be predictable. Humans aren't. The cult had no defense against well-trained human soldiers. Their cybernetic suits were impressive but limited by programming. Their robot guardians couldn't adapt to human tactics. Shut down the control signal. Tai Yung ordered the captured cult leader. Now, you don't understand, the leader protested. Organic life is inefficient. Machines are perfect. We're helping the galaxy evolve. Perfect isn't always better, Tai Yung replied. Sometimes you need imperfection. Sometimes you need creativity. Sometimes you need human ingenuity. When the cult leader refused to cooperate, Tai Yung's team did things the old-fashioned way. They found the main control systems and destroyed them physically. No hacking required. No complex cyber warfare. Just simple, direct action. The effect spread across the galaxy like a wave. The stolen robot armies shut down. The automated defense systems returned to normal. The cult's great plan was defeated by the very thing they considered obsolete: human determination. Hours later, as they headed back to Earth, Tai Yung received a message from the Galactic Council. They wanted to know how his team had succeeded where automated forces had failed. Tell them the truth, he told his communications officer. Tell them that sometimes the best solution isn't the most advanced one. Sometimes you need human hands and human hearts. The Council would have to rethink its policies now. The cult had exposed a critical flaw in the galaxy's over-reliance on automation. Earth's primitive methods had saved everyone. Sir, one of his team members asked, do you think they'll finally understand about why we train the way we do? Tai Yung looked at his team. Tired, bruised, but successful. They had faced the most advanced technology in the galaxy and won using simple human skills. They'll understand, he said. Today proved that the galaxy needs both high technology and basic human capabilities. You can't automate everything. You can't program every response. Sometimes you need the human element. As their ship headed home, alerts were still coming in from across the galaxy. Worlds were recovering. Forces were rebuilding. And everywhere, people were asking the same question. How had a small team of human soldiers succeeded where vast robot armies had failed? The answer was simple, though it had taken a crisis for the galaxy to see it. Humans weren't primitive for maintaining their combat skills. They were wise. They had remembered something important that the rest of the galaxy had forgotten. The most powerful weapon isn't the most advanced technology. It's the human spirit, adaptable and unconquerable. Tai Yung knew there would be changes coming. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson about the dangers of total automation. Earth's methods would be studied, not criticized. Their training would be sought after, not dismissed as primitive. But for now, he was content knowing his team had proven what humans had always known. Sometimes the old ways were still the best ways. Sometimes victory didn't require advanced technology. Sometimes all you needed was human courage, human skill, and human determination. Major Min-ji Song stood at the entrance of the new Mars Combat Academy, watching as the first class of mixed-species trainees arrived. The massive facility stretched across the Martian landscape, its training grounds designed to simulate environments from across the galaxy. 6 months had passed since the Infinite Circuit cult's defeat. The galaxy had changed in that time. The Council's military doctrine was being rewritten. And here, on Mars, something unprecedented was happening. Aliens were coming to learn Earth's combat methods. Min-ji remembered the council meeting where this had been proposed. She had stood beside Administrator Lee as he presented the idea. A facility where humans would teach other species how to combine physical combat skills with advanced technology. The first group of trainees walked through the airlock. There were tall, graceful Centaurians, heavily built Rigelians, even a few crystalline beings from the Silicon Collective. All of them had come to learn what humans had never forgotten. "Welcome to Mars Combat Academy," Min-ji announced through the translation system. "I am Major Song, your chief instructor. You are here because your worlds have recognized the importance of maintaining basic combat skills alongside technological advancement." She led them through the facility. The training areas included everything from simple gymnasiums to high-tech simulation chambers. But the most important areas were the basic training grounds, where trainees would learn to fight without relying on advanced technology. "Many of you come from worlds that have used only robot soldiers for centuries," Min-ji continued. "You're probably wondering why we're starting with physical training rather than technological integration." A Centaurian trainee raised one of their 4 hands. "Yes, Major. On my world, we haven't engaged in physical combat for 300 years. Why start now?" Min-ji smiled. "Because the recent crisis proved that technology can fail. When that happens, you need backup skills. Basic skills. Human skills." She led them to the first training area. It was a simple room with padded floors and basic exercise equipment. Nothing electronic. Nothing that could be hacked or disabled. "We'll start with the fundamentals," she explained. "How to move efficiently. How to use your natural strengths. How to think creatively in combat situations." The trainees looked uncertain. A Rigelian stepped forward, their heavy gravity muscles rippling under their environment suit. "Major," they said, "our species is naturally stronger than humans. Why should we learn your methods?" "Strength isn't everything," Min-ji replied. She gestured to one of her human instructors. "Sergeant Kim, would you demonstrate?" The sergeant stepped onto the training mat. Despite being half the size of the Rigelian, he moved with confident grace. When the alien tried to use their superior strength, the sergeant used their own force against them. In moments, the Rigelian was on the mat. "That," Min-ji said, "is why. Physical combat isn't just about power. It's about technique, adaptability, using whatever advantages you have." Over the next few hours, she watched as the trainees began their first lessons. Some struggled with movements their species hadn't used in generations. Others found natural talents they didn't know they had. "Remember," she told them, "we're not abandoning technology. We're adding to it. The best soldier isn't the one with the most advanced weapons. It's the one who can still fight effectively when those weapons fail." In another part of the facility, robot training units waited, but they would come later. First, these beings from across the galaxy needed to reconnect with their own physical capabilities. A message arrived from Earth Command. More worlds were requesting spots in the training program. The Silicon Collective, which had once criticized Earth's methods as primitive, now wanted to send entire units for training. Min-ji read the message with satisfaction. The galaxy was learning what humans had known all along. You couldn't rely solely on technology. You needed the organic element. the ability to think creatively, to adapt quickly, to do the unexpected. During the lunch break, she met with her instructor team. They were discussing the challenges of teaching different species, each with their own physical capabilities and limitations. The key, Minji told them, is to help each species find their own way. We're not turning them into humans. We're helping them rediscover their natural abilities. One of her instructors, Captain Du Jin, reported on the morning's progress. The Centaurians are surprisingly agile once they stop overthinking their movements. And the Silicon Collective beings have an interesting advantage. They can reshape their crystalline forms for different combat situations. Good, Minji said. Help them develop those natural advantages. That's what Earth's combat doctrine is really about, using what you have effectively. In the afternoon, she supervised advanced training sessions with the human-alien mixed units that had been training for several weeks. They were impressive to watch. Humans and aliens working together, combining their different abilities and approaches. A Centaurian moved with fluid grace, using all four arms in complex combat patterns. A Silicon Collective being shifted their crystalline form to deflect attacks. A Rigelian used their strength more precisely now, with technique replacing raw power. This is what we're working toward, Minji told the new trainees who were watching. Not just individual skill, but true cooperation, understanding how different species can work together effectively. Later, in her office, Minji reviewed the training reports. The success rates were higher than even the optimists had predicted. Species that had relied on robots for centuries were rediscovering their natural combat abilities. A call came in from the Galactic Council. They wanted to send observers to study the training methods. Minji approved the request. Let them see. Let them understand why Earth's approach worked. As the Martian sunset painted the sky in shades of red, Minji walked through the facility one last time. In the basic training areas, some trainees were still practicing. A Centaurian was teaching a human some four-armed combat moves. A Silicon Collective being was learning Earth martial arts, adapting the techniques to their crystalline form. This was the future, she realized. Not just humans teaching aliens, but all species learning from each other, combining the best of their natural abilities with appropriate technology. The next day would bring new challenges. More trainees would arrive. More worlds would request training. The program would grow and evolve. But the core principle would remain the same. No matter how advanced technology became, the organic element was still crucial. The ability to think creatively, to adapt quickly, to do the unexpected. These were things that couldn't be programmed. Minji thought about how far they had come. From being criticized as primitive to being recognized as teachers. From being told to automate their military to showing the galaxy a better way. The crisis with the infinite circuit had taught everyone a valuable lesson. Technology could fail. Robots could be hacked. But trained organic beings, working together and using their natural abilities effectively. They were much harder to defeat. As she prepared to end another day at the academy, Minji received one final report. The council had officially revised its military doctrine. The new standards required all member worlds to maintain both automated and organic combat capabilities. She smiled as she read it. The galaxy had finally understood what humans had never forgotten. Sometimes the old ways were still the best ways. Sometimes victory required more than advanced technology. Sometimes you needed the human element, or whatever natural abilities each species possessed. The Mars Combat Academy would continue to grow. More species would come to learn, and together they would create something new. A galactic military doctrine that combined the best of technology with the irreplaceable qualities of organic life. It wasn't just about teaching combat skills. It was about helping each species rediscover their own strength, their own potential. It was about building a stronger galaxy, one that wouldn't be vulnerable to technological failure or electronic warfare. As the lights dimmed in the facility, Minji could hear the sounds of training continuing in some areas. Species that had once relied entirely on robots were learning to trust their own abilities again. The galaxy was changing, one lesson at a time. And it had all started because humans had refused to give up their primitive methods, because they had remembered something important that others had forgotten. The greatest weapon wasn't the most advanced technology. It was the spirit of organic life itself, adaptable, creative, and unconquerable.